Hi, kindergarten. It's Mr. Kirchman here. Welcome back to science. I'm so glad you could join me. Raise your hand if you are wearing clothes right now. I'm wearing clothes, right? So are you, I'm sure. Think about it for a minute. Why do you wear clothes? I'm looking at my dog Ziggy. He's not wearing clothes. I was outside earlier. The squirrels weren't wearing clothes, and our birds aren't wearing clothes. But every day when we get up, we put on clothes. And when we go to bed, we take off one type of clothes and we put on our pajamas, and that's a different kind of clothes. So why do we wear clothes? Wonder why. Or maybe another type of question is, why don't animals wear clothes? So let's think about that for a minute. Why do people wear clothes but animals don't wear clothes? So let's think what clothes do for us. If it's cold outside, how do we stay warm? Of course, we put on a jacket. So we wear clothing to keep us warm. And if you go outside on a really, really sunny day and you don't wear a shirt, what happens to your skin? Have you ever done that? It hurts. That's right, you get a sunburn. So we wear clothing sometimes to protect our skin. So we wear it for protection. Shoes are a type of clothing, right? And if you walked outside and you were barefoot, you didn't put your shoes on, you stepped on a sharp rock or a piece of glass, what would happen? Ow! You get cut, right? Because our shoes protect us. And something else that clothing does, if it's raining outside, we can put on a raincoat. And what does that raincoat do for us? It keeps us dry. So our clothing keeps us warm and dry, and it protects us from sun and other things that can hurt us. So that's why we wear clothing. So let's go back to part 2 of our question. Why don't animals wear clothing? It's a harder question. Ziggy, why don't animals wear clothing? Really? Ziggy says animals don't wear clothing because they don't need clothing. They have something else instead. As a matter of fact, they have 4 different things that we don't have that keep them warm and dry and protect them. And I'll bet you've heard of those things. Animals have fur. They have feathers. They have skin. And they have scales. Animals don't need clothing because they all have one of those things. Can we say those together, please? Some animals have fur. Some animals have feathers. Some animals have skin. And some animals have scales. Now you know all about skin, don't you? Because you are an animal that has skin. Skin is pretty cool. It's not very strong, but it's one big piece from the top of your head to the bottom of your body. Now, but skin is easy to scratch, and it burns. It's not very strong, and it doesn't keep us warm. So some animals have skin, but a lot more animals, including Ziggy, have fur. Now, we have hair. I have some hair on my face, and I have some hair on my head, and I have some hair on my arms, and so do you. But that doesn't keep us warm, does it? I think that's just to make us pretty. Fur, on the other hand, is close hair, very close together and very thick. It's like wearing a jacket. So a lot of animals, like Ziggy, are covered with fur. Ziggy's taking a nap and he doesn't want to come and say hi. Other animals, birds, are covered with feathers. Now, feathers are super cool. They help the animal to stay warm, but they also help the animal to fly. So if you're covered with feathers, you can do something that very few other animals can do. And the final thing is something you probably don't know much about. It's scales. Some animals are covered with scales. You probably know that dinosaurs were covered with scales. Scales are kind of like skin, but they're really, really tough. And instead of being one piece from the top to the bottom, they're sort of like this. You have a scale on top of another scale, 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 and your whole body is covered with scales. And when you've got all those scales, they're really, really strong, and they don't scratch, and they're really bendy for the animal. So animals that live in a desert where there's lots of things that can poke and scratch them, a lot of times they're covered with scales. Now the next time we get together, we are going to play a game called Cover Up, where we have to figure out who wears fur and who wears feathers and who wears scales and who wears skin. Now, before you go away and go to another class, I am going to read you a story, and you'll have to click on another link, and the name of the story is Animals Should Definitely Not Wear Clothing. So until then, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.